Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Play Hard and Love Big Radio. My name is Nick Clark, and I'm your co-host today with my beautiful wife, Katie Clark. Play Hard and Love Big Radio is dedicated to bringing you the inspirational stories and inspirational peoples that are meant to help you live your life to your fullest potential. Play Hard and Love Big Radio is the official podcast of Spotted Dog Yoga and Sup Shop based out of Folsom, California. So if you want some darn good yoga and some amazing community connection and some sweet paddle boards, check out Spotted Dog Yoga in Folsom and online at spotteddogyoga.com. Katie, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about yoga and how it has made our relationship strong and how we have been able to, overcome challenges in our marriage because of our yoga practice.
Do you really think that that's true?
I
Just
do.
kidding. I totally think it's true. I mean,
Why don't we ask all the peoples at home?
Hey, all you peoples at home, what do you think about us as a couple? Are we like a hot couple? Didn't they have like a game show like that? Like you would rate a couple like a 10? I think we get a 10.
I don't know.
Well, anyway.
I've never seen that.
Well, I definitely think it's 1,000 times 1,000% true because yoga not only helped us really connect from the beginning, that's where we met, but as our relationship has grown and as we've learned the methodology of Baptiste Yoga, we've started to really speak the same language and we understand each other and understand how to communicate with each other in a totally different way than when we first met.
Yeah, I don't think we speak the same language.
You don't think so?
But I don't. But what is true is that we can understand each other and communicate better.
That's true.
With our own individual languages.
Yeah. So, what would your love language be?
Oh, we're not doing the love languages, are we?
Well, why not? I think I know what your love language is.
What? I don't know the exact name. It's like whatever it is. I don't even know. It's like the one that's when people just do things.
Yeah, that's what you like, is when I just do the things that are expected.
What is it? Like acts of service? Is that what it is?
That's right, acts of service. Which is why it's so perfect that you married me, because I'm like Mr. Service.
Yeah.
And mine is acts of, I don't know, kindness? What is it?
It's not acts. You're like the physical touch. You're affectionate.
Oh, yeah. I am definitely affectionate. Well, there you go. There you have it. That's the end of our podcast. Thanks, everyone, for checking in on Play Hard and Love Big Radio. See, we don't speak the same language, but we understand each other in a way that we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more beyond the love languages about how we communicate better because of yoga. Why?
Well, I think the love languages apply because what I was saying is we understand each other better. So like, though I'm not a very affectionate, touchy-feely person, I understand that that's how you are. And though you, I don't think when we first got together, you were like really an acts of service guy in terms of our relationship. I'm not saying you're not like Mr. Service, like you said, you are that way in a sense, but in a relationship, you were more like wanting to give affection or gifts, but that's not what I want or it's not what makes me the happiest. Like what makes me feel good is like when someone, like I'd rather have you clean the toilets than buy me flowers. Let's just be real. So, I mean, seriously, without me asking that to happen. So I think what it is that yoga and our practice and our teaching and our use of all the methodology and the principles of yoga has made it possible to understand that we're different. And I think where I initially tried to change things about you. Now I just know that that's how you are, and I am okay with that. And then I try to communicate differently or act accordingly in a way that you receive well.
Right.
Did that make sense?
It totally made sense. Like, usually if I am unloading the dishwasher, because you know that I'm an affectionate kind of a guy, you come up and you like put your hand on my head and you kind of like tap my head and you rub my shoulder just a little bit just to say, hey, thank you. No, you don't do that.
No, I don't.
I'm just kidding. No, you don't. No, I know what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I believe like the understanding of that, really an understanding of another person, especially somebody that you live with, is first and foremost, it comes from getting rooted in your body, right? Like physically getting present. And once you get present and you're committed to a relationship long term, like we are, then you can get out of the way of your own self and start to pay attention to other people's needs and pay attention to what it is that really makes them tick, makes them feel good. And if you want the relationship to be successful, you have to do that, because otherwise you would be doing things that don't make them feel good, and then there would be constant arguments or constant battles or whatever. So there has to be that level of presence, but also there has to be that level of, like in yoga we call it flow, right? Vinyasa, some flow. You have to be able to be malleable and shift as who you are as a person, so that you can relate to and connect to another person in a new way. That's all I got.
Yeah, it's what it is that it's easier sometimes to get caught in your own thoughts about somebody or a situation. That's like the easy route to make yourself right, to validate yourself, to do it like that. Whereas the harder route to what you were speaking to is to be physically present in the actual moment and choose a way of communication that works. I think having worked together and been married we've worked together for 10 years and been married 7. That's challenging. But I like looking back, I think about the amount of arguments that we had early on compared to now. Like we don't really have arguments much anymore. I think just because we are communicating more effectively, like we know and understand each other in a way that and respect each other more, so that we are choosing to communicate in a way that's effective versus like just getting the jab in, just to say the thing, just to be right, like that. So I think that's where the communication comes from. And certainly there have been a lot of challenges for us along the way. I think it's common for people to, and it's easier if you think about it in a sense, to just give up on relationships. I don't know what the percentage is, but I know that the divorce rates are pretty high. And I actually think that I'm pretty positive that second marriage divorce rates are even higher than first marriage. And I think that it's because people are so quick to blame the other person without dealing with their own part in whatever the problem is. And when you don't deal with your own part and then you get divorced and then you get married a second time, likely you're bringing those same problems to the next marriage because you haven't dealt with your part, your stuff. It's easier to blame someone else and just write it off and say, oh, it was them, than to take ownership of your part, do your work, so that you can be better for that person. And I think that's really what we've done, is do our work as individuals and together. But the individual work has to come first. And when you do that individual work on yourself, then, and the other person is doing it as well, then you can meet in the middle, and make it work.
You got it. So good. I really couldn't have put it any better myself. I think that one thing that people forget or don't even know is that they have the ability to change, that they're malleable. And as we get older, I feel like people get more and more stuck in their ways. And the practice of yoga constantly, meditation and yoga constantly reminds me that, and shows me that I can shift and be different, and I can express myself differently. And by being able to do that, I am able to hear other people differently and communicate with other people differently. And so as much as it's made our relationship better, it's also made all the other relationships better in my life as well. And that's my hope. And I know part of our vision at Spotted Dog Yoga is to help people show up and be their best version of themselves, and to be the best version of themselves for other people. And so by showing up as the most expressive form of yourself, I believe doesn't necessarily mean that you are the main center of attention, but that you're aware enough to actually listen to what other people's needs are and to accommodate and to be in the presence of other people in a way that respects their needs, so that you can communicate with them on a different level, which is what we've done. And I really appreciate that. And I love the heck out of you, Katie.
Yeah. I think there's an important distinction in what you said, though. It's like you said, you can change, but the distinction is you can change yourself, but you can't change other people. So that's the mindset that you have to have. Like, you're not just set in one certain way as an individual, and you can do work to shift and become better, to improve. But what you can't do is make someone else change or want them to change or do it for them. And I think that is a really important distinction in terms of, because when you start doing like some of the inquiry and the work that we do with yoga on the level that we do, it could be easy to be like, oh, you do something and then think, oh, my husband or wife or partner needs to do this. They would benefit from this. And then if they don't want to do it or they don't do it, then there's a disappointment there. It's really important to focus on yourself and do the work yourself. And then what tends to happen in our situation is different because we both do it, the yoga work. But if, for example, you're a person that is in a relationship with someone that doesn't do yoga, and you are doing like a training or some kind of like deeper work with inquiry in your yoga practice, what tends to happen is that you do the work and you just naturally start to shift. And then usually what happens is the other person notices that, and then they want some of that because they see that you're happier and you're doing well and you're not as reactive, and like they see these qualities coming out in you that they want. And it's at that point that they make the decision to go get some of that for themselves.
Yeah, we've had that experience a lot of different times over the years where people have asked us, like, how do I get my husband into yoga? Or how do I get my wife into yoga? I love it so much and I just can't get him to the studio. And what you just spoke to is really truly the answer. It's like, stop forcing or trying to force them to do the yoga, do the work on yourself, and they will see shifts in you, and then they will ultimately want a piece of what you've got, and then they'll start showing up into the studio. I think we actually have some clients like that I'm trying to think of one specific one, but that when actually I can think of one specific one, that the wife was coming to the studio for a really long time. The husband wasn't coming to the studio. And then all of a sudden, the husband started coming to the studio, and now the husband comes more to the studio than the wife does. It's funny how that happens.
Yeah, and it's like you said too. You said it's developed all of your relationships or helped you be better in all of your relationships. This applies everywhere. Like, I know that certainly I am much better at communicating with our kids because of this yoga practice than I would have been without it. And I know that it's the case in my relationships with my parents and other people, like friends. It happens. People see you shift and it's almost like, whoa, what are you like? You look great. You're so like, you look vibrant and you look happy and you're so peaceful. And then they just, they want to know, how did that happen? And so if you just, share that you think that it's your yoga practice, that ultimately, even if they don't do it right away, the hope is that at some point they'll try it for themselves.
There you go. You got it. Hey, well, before we wrap this up today, Katie, will you tell us a little bit about the Awaken Yoga training that's starting in the next month here, and why people should get involved with it?
Yeah, the Awaken Yoga training is a 200-hour teacher training. And I think the misconception that comes up a lot for people is that it's for people that want to teach, or it's for people who are more experienced in their practice. And while that can be the case, you will know how to teach yoga at the end of it. It's more a personal development program than anything else. And it combines the yoga practice with meditation and inquiry consistently over a 5-month period. And what happens, and we see it every time we do a training, is that when people commit to the training and do those 3 practices consistently over that long of a time frame, shifts just happen. And it's not like you plan it, or you might have in mind something that you want to do in your life, maybe. But usually what it is we get to the end of the training and people are like, we say, well, what was your biggest takeaway from the training? And people look back and they have so much that has shifted for them. It can almost be overwhelming how much can change in 5 months, just on a personal level. And it's not like anything that you're doing or not doing right now is wrong. It's just that yoga makes you more aware. And when you're more aware, you know when you're present and when you're not present. You know when you're being reactive and when you could have made a better choice with your words or actions. And so I think while you do learn to teach yoga, which the way to learn something the best is to learn to teach it, right? So even if you just want a yoga practice that is solid and you're new, the best way to learn the foundation is to learn to teach it. But more importantly, and above and beyond that, it's really just a way to get some of what we've been talking about this whole podcast, which is really just, some peace, some happiness, some vibrance, and feeling, good about yourself. And when you have that feeling of accomplishment because of all of the things that you've done over the course of the training, it shines through you and other people will see that. And it just changes the world. Like one person has a sphere of influence. Even if you think about just going to the grocery store and talking to the cashier when you check out, I often find when I'm at the grocery store that the fact that I look people in the eye, the fact that I am genuinely interested in them and answering their question, the general, like, how are you question, sometimes it changes their whole demeanor over a course of a 2-minute interaction. I think that what we need to understand is that when we improve ourselves, that we actually can change the world. And it's because of that ripple effect, right? Like anything that you do for yourself affects the people that you are closest to and the people that you encounter on a day-to-day basis. And so I think there's just a way of making better connections with people nowadays, even if it's just those little interactions with people that you don't know. And that's really what this training is for. It's to make transformation possible, which is our mission at Spotted Dog Yoga.
All right, awesome. Well, there you have it. And that program starts on July 13th, which is just a little less than a month from now. So if you have any interest in that program, go to spotteddogyoga.com and then click on the tab that says trainings, and you can get some more information. You can even book a call with Katie or I to talk about the program and see if it's the right timing for you to do that program. Again, Katie, thank you so much, and thank you everyone for listening to Play Hard and Love Big Radio, where we bring inspirational stories and inspirational people on so that we can help inspire you to be the greatest version of yourself. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite platform, on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. Also, we put these video podcasts up onto YouTube, and we have a killer YouTube channel, so subscribe and hit the alert button on our YouTube channel so that you can be notified every time that we toss out a new version, a new episode of Play Hard and Love Big Radio. Have a great rest of your day, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace out.
Thanks, peoples.
Later, peoples.